Hello, everyone. Happy Easter. I had a great day today. Beautiful Easter service this morning at our church, and then we had all three of our daughters and all five of our grandchildren here after the service to celebrate Easter. Had a great time. Beautiful day out today. Nice weather. Beautiful sunshine, 60 degrees and higher. Just a wonderful day. And then I also have some time to post this update on the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision. My name is Daryl Cruz, owner and builder of The Layout, and your host for episode 14, which will be on some continued progress here at Curvo. And made some major changes on the Curvo bridge. And this is how I did it last week. Was not happy at all the way that this worked out with the I-beams there. Just looked kind of hodgepodge. So I looked at the prototype and saw that they had actually a girder going through. So I did exactly the same thing as a prototype. I took an extra girder that I had, and I made room between the girders, existing girders, and so that I could slide an additional girder in there. And that's kind of how the prototype does it. And I cut one end at the appropriate angle, and I basically just glued it in, and I kind of had it a little bit underneath, a little bit lower than the regular girders, which is what it is on the prototype. And so that's kind of how it worked out. And then I took it to the layout and basically tested it out, put both legs on there, and sure enough, it did clear both the intermountain auto racks and 53-foot containers. So I was very happy about that, and I actually didn't have to go out that far on the back side girder. Everything fit very well. It's kind of pretty close on the clearance, but finally had things exactly the way they needed to be. So I moved on to the piers for the girders, and I basically cut out a form using some styrene. And I used the taper of the piers to match the taper on the regular piers. And I used just general plaster of Paris. I glued my little forms together. I know a lot of people use Sculptamold, by the way. I've been using just regular plaster of Paris, much cheaper, although I've heard Sculptamold's a lot easier to work with. But anyway, I glued my forms together and then glued them onto a sheet of styrene. So basically, I had a form ready to go, and I glued the four sides together in such a way that each side was equal length. And then I filled it up with some plaster. As you can see, I filled it to overflowing. Now, I actually made these much bigger than I needed to, but I figured I'd rather have them too big than too small. I knew I would have to cut them down to the right size. But here you can see after they've dried, I removed them from the sheet. And then I took off the sides, and we had some pretty good looking piers for the middle girder. Now, there were some pockets there that I was able to fill in eventually. Now, as you can see, they are definitely too big for the piers. Now, if you look at the prototype, the piers are actually kind of cube shape. There is the taper, as you can see, so I cut them to be pretty much the same cube type of shape. And here you can see I kind of had to sand them down a little bit to get them exactly where they're supposed to be. And we actually have a pretty much completed Curvo bridge, although there is still a little bit of work to do. Now, one thing I wanted to do is make sure I added some rivet detail. These are the Central Valley girders, and they have two types of girders. They have the lace girders and the box girders. And the way it works out, the lace girders have laces on two sides and then nothing on the other two sides, no rivet detail. The box girders have rivets on two sides and then nothing on the other two sides. So I basically cut the rivet detail from the box girders and then glued it onto the lace girders so that we had some rivet detail on the sides of the lace girders. And then I also put a little bit on the top so that there's some rivet detail on the top. And here you can kind of see the detail. I kind of put some rivet detail on the very bottom where it connects to the pier. So generally you can't see the rivets when you're standing here, but I think when I get it painted and weathered, I am going to be able to see it. Now, the one thing I have left to do is the handrails, and I think I've decided not to do the little braces there from the girder up to the handrails. And one of the main reasons is that as you can see, the braces are tied into the handrails or the railings, and so I didn't think that was going to work out. So anyway, I am going to be using some handrails. I have one I saw from Faller, which would do the whole bridge for less than $10, and then I saw this at Mr. Hobby, and I'd have to get two of the etched brass, and they're $30 each. So it's either $60 or less than $10. So I'm going to try the Faller first and see how that works. Now, I wanted to make sure I had some maintenance roads, and so I was looking at my topography and was trying to figure out a way to make sure that there was kind of like a ways for a maintenance road. So I put some cardboard down at different places to kind of have a way to have a maintenance road, and then I drape some additional plaster gauze over the cardboard, kind of to have a little bit of a right of way for the maintenance road. Now, one thing, this plaster gauze is pretty stiff, but as you can see, there's wrinkles in it, and then it also is not all that strong. If you have just one layer, it's pretty flexible. So one thing I definitely am going to do for all of it is to put a thin layer of plaster over on top, and so that's one thing I did. Also, not on the whole. Here you can see where the cardboard is draped over with plaster gauze for the little bit of right of way. I'll show you in a bit exactly where the maintenance road is going to go. Here you can see what it looks like with the thin layer of plaster on top of the plaster gauze. It definitely smooths it out quite a bit and definitely makes it a lot stronger. It's pretty much rock hard right now. Now there is a little area here where it's almost vertical, so I think I'm going to put a rock mold right here for this vertical face, and then it transitions into more of a sloped one, so I'll probably have vegetation right there. So that's one thing I'm going to do this week is put a rock mold right here. Maybe a couple of other places. I think that's probably it. But as you can see, I got all of the painting or the thin layer of plaster over this from Curvo up to this point. Now here I have not done this area here. You can see it's just regular plaster. So I have quite a bit to do yet. I have all of this to do yet. And but I'm going to just kind of, before I get to the rest of it, I am going to try and get some color on here. I've been tired of looking at the white here, so I'm going to try this week to paint this and get some ground foam on. I think one thing I'm going to do, here's the maintenance road. Kind of show you how the maintenance road is going to go. I want to make sure that there's maintenance roads on the whole thing. Here's the underpass, and you can see the prototype picture, but then there's going to be a maintenance road coming up here. It's going to cross over the tracks. This will just be a gravel road, one lane. Then it's going to come down here and cross over the tracks. So actually we'll come over here so that they can get into this area here with where the bridge is, and then it's going to go up here. You see I have a car there right now. That's at a 27-degree angle right there. I measured it. So it's not too steep. I think most four-wheel drive pickup trucks can make it up there. So it's going to come here, and then it's going to go down. That 27 degrees was the sharpest curve. And then it's going to come down here, curve around, and then split into two different directions. One is going to go to this tunnel portal, then it's going to go across, and then down this way, and then over here it's going to cross over, then it's going to go along the tracks, and then I'm going to try and have it go all the way to Wasatch. So there's maintenance roads all around. There's going to be one that's dividing over here so they can get to these tunnel portals. Probably won't have a road down here. It's pretty steep. So the maintenance guys are going to have to foot it. Maybe I'll put a little pathway, footpath down so that they can get to that tunnel portal. But definitely it's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty cool having a maintenance road through all there. There's like little details like some satellite stuff at the tunnel portals. So the maintenance road is going to go all the way to Wasatch eventually, in case there's any maintenance that needs to be done. All right, so it's turning out pretty cool. I am going to try to get some color on. What I want to do yet is use some plastic putty to work on some seams in the piers and abutments. So kind of smooth out those piers. Then on the piers themselves, there are some seams there. So I want to try and use a plastic putty to kind of smooth those out and kind of do some sanding on the pier so that there's not sharp corners but more rounded. So it's more like the prototype. When I get that all done for the piers and abutments, then I'm going to paint them. And I have some concrete color here. You can kind of see the model versus the prototype. I think it's working out pretty good. Pretty happy with the way things are shaping up. It's not going to be exact, but it's definitely going to be recognizable at the very least. But anyway, I'm going to get all the tunnel portals and all the piers and abutments all painted before I paint the plaster. Gonna see how that works out. And so, of course, you got to see some trains running through the scenery again. Here's a crude oil or ethanol tank train. This is an eastbound train going up the Wasatch grade on the modern main line. That's a Scale Trains C44 CW, I believe, or Dash 9. Yeah, it's not a C44. Well, I think that's the same thing, isn't it? It's Dash 9 by Scale Trains, and then it's a ES44 Gevo by Athearn. And they are going up towards Wasatch. It's going to take some time to get all of this done. I'm kind of anxious to get this completed so I can move on to some other things. I think once I get the scenery here done, I'm going to do some rolling stock work. I want to get some weathering done and resistor wheel sets done. So I want to get the rolling stock a little bit more looking realistic. As we see a stack train coming in the other direction. It is going downgrade westward on the original main line. I really like this scene also. Everything so far has been shaping up pretty good. I've been pretty happy with the way everything's been turning out. I'm a little nervous about doing the painting again. That's probably the area that I feel the least confidence in, is getting the colors right. But I have some ideas on how I'm going to do things, and so we'll see how it looks. So hopefully this will all, from here, I'm not going to do all of it. I'm going to just work on getting some color and ground foam and everything on these two scenes. A little scene there between the tunnels, and then right here at Curvo, I want to get some paint and ground foam and so forth on here. Also, I think the other section on the other side of the peninsula will go a little bit quicker. There's the area around the tunnel portals always takes a lot of time. So even though there may be a little bit more square footage, I think it'll go a little bit quicker. But so far, things turning out pretty good. If you have some ideas on the handrails, like as I said, I mentioned the ones by Faller. They're like $10 or less. Unfortunately, they're not available right now, although some people had them listed as coming in April sometime. So it sounds like they will be available sometime soon. And then the one by Mr. Hobby, the etched metal ones. If you know some other sources for industrial railings that would be appropriate, let me know. Or if you know some places that have the Faller handrails, let me know about that also. All right, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. There's going to be part 2 of the Evanston yard switching instructional video. Part 2 will be posted either tomorrow or Tuesday. And I'll probably have some additional videos during the week, and then, of course, another update next week with some color. Stay tuned for that, everybody. Have a wonderful Easter, everyone, and a great week. Take care, everyone.